Good morning. It's good to be back with you. Pastor Brad here with our daily devotions out of the book of James. We find ourselves in chapter 5 now this morning, 1 through 6. It's a very interesting passage of Scripture, very important to the context of which James finds himself in there, and the church and the Christians there in that time frame. But James immediately comes out and he begins to condemn the rich. Now, we know, as we've addressed earlier in our devotions, that being rich is not wrong. It's not bad. It's not sinful to be rich, just as it's not sinful or bad or wrong to be poor. And so James, though, is his issue with the rich is their stewardship or their abuse of their wealth and power. And so he's accusing them of economic exploitation and oppression and injustice based on their wealth and riches. Now, I think this applies to us, and we'll apply it here in a moment, but I think we can think through this idea of using our job and our status and our resources and our positions to either benefit others or to oppress them. Now, James points out four things in this passage of Scripture that the rich are doing that he's condemning, and it's more of what they're doing he's condemning. It's not so much who they are or that they are rich. Number one, he points out this, that they're hoarding their wealth, that everything that they make is for them, and they store it up for themselves, and they don't share it with anybody. It's not used in any way to benefit others. You may remember the man that Jesus brings up, and he talks about this wealthy man who has a great harvest, and he builds a barn, and he fills his barn full of his harvest, and he has leftovers. He has a lot of extra, and instead of going and giving away all of this extra or serving others or helping others because he has all that he needs stored up, rather he says, I need to tear down these barns and build bigger ones so that he can store up more and hoard up more for himself. And Jesus says, in that night, after building those bigger barns and storing up more for himself, he dies. He wasn't even able to enjoy it. He wasn't even able to enjoy giving it away. Like, there's a joy in us to go and serve and meet the needs of others, being the hands and feet of Christ. And so James is pointing out in this passage that they are hoarding their wealth. Number two, he points out that they're defrauding their workers. They're not paying those who are working for them. They're not paying their servants. They're not paying those who are graining or harvesting their fields. And so one thing that we recognize here is just the stewardship of doing and treating people right and giving them what they deserve, paying them what they deserve. Number three is their self-indulgent lifestyles. James says, while you are hoarding your wealth, you're not paying those who deserve to be paid. You are living luxuriously. He says that you have fattened your heart for the day of slaughter, that you have hoarded up food and wealth and just gained all of this for yourself only for it in some way to kill you later. And then lastly, the oppression of the righteous. James says, you're oppressing the ones that aren't going to come back and hurt you or harm you or disagree with you. They're not going to speak out against you. They're not going to do any of those things because they are seeking to do what is good and right to you. And so James recognizes that there are Christians in this time frame that are being hurt and oppressed because of those who are wealthy and using their power and their status to abuse. John Calvin says that James wrote this passage for two reasons. One is to get the point across that you shouldn't desire to be like the rich. You shouldn't desire to be like them. But number two is this, that you don't have to avenge those who harm you and hurt you. That God is your avenger. I think we can take those truths as well, that we shouldn't desire to be something that we're not. We shouldn't desire to have all of these things when a lot of these things that we tend to put our trust and hope in are the things that very things that corrupt us. But the question that I have today for us is, how are we using and stewarding what God has given us and the resources, the jobs, the positions, the status in the community, in the workplace to benefit others? I love this quote that I hear often about leadership is true leadership is how well you develop others to be as strong as you, not how you suppress people and to remain strong over them. That true leadership is building up of others. And so it is with stewardship, that it's to benefit others and to be good stewards of those resources. So, church, how can we use what God has given us to not only glorify God, but also to benefit others, not to suppress them or oppress them, but to benefit them? And church, we love you. We're praying for you.